Boom, and welcome to John Crump Live, and we're here live without John Crump. So, being that I have all of these very important things to say, and I've just run out of them, I'm going to bring our guest in once he moves his hand from the camera. So we have our friend, not A GunTuber. So what's up, man? Uh-oh, I don't hear any audio from you. I can't see your lips moving. So, yeah, I got no audio. We're talking on the phone. So I guess I didn't get a good sound check from him, realizing that I'm going to drop him out just so it's not confusing for now. Because we're talking on the phone, getting things set up. So, yeah, today was an interesting day, coming in kind of hot. Let's see. I just want to welcome Kurt24. Bob of Gideon Optics, Putang. Let's see, Johnny 3 Bar, frag out! $20 says that U.S. satellite blew up, wasn't an accident. Oh, what's going on? Crap's going on I don't know about. Kurt24, and let's see, frag out, did you receive something in the mail from me? Or the female? Let's see, it says out for delivery, still out for delivery. So frag out-ish is still out for delivery. And I can show you, I got this today. The kind people at Bear Creek Arsenal sent me basically a flat dark earth. What are you chewing on? Do you think chewing on printed supports is healthy? How about we don't do these things? What is that? Sorry, my loving and cute dog. Come on up. Come on. Come on. Come on, since we got nothing else going on. All right, go away. Just don't. You come here. Come on up. Come on. Come on. Oh. All right. Say hi to the dog. This is Sunshine. When my father-in-law passed, we inherited her. This is the only thing I got from my father-in-law, and I love it. But dogs can be a pain in the ass. Plus, she sheds like a mofo. So, yeah, I am... So, Dark and I both got Bear Creek Arsenal-ish, and it's looking great. I'm loving it. They gave a stainless barrel and a... I guess titanium nitride threaded barrel. I think not A is ready. And let's see if I can bring him in. Boom. Are you here audio-wise? Uh-oh, I got no audio on you. Dude, there is no audio.
Can you hear me now?
Yes! Yes!
Okay. Oh, my God.
Okay.
It seems like every dang time I hang out with you, I have, like, massive phone problems.
Ish happens. Now, last time I had you on, did I have you on with John or was I solo?
No, it was solo.
Oh, okay, all right. Because when I was talking to John, I'm like, "Hey, we got not a GunTuber." He's like, "Who's that?" I'm like, "Oh, I guess you're on solo with me."
I remember last time I talked with you, I was out in my shop because I was like, "Hey, we're going to talk about gun stuff. I might as well, have my machines behind me." And I watched it afterwards, and like tons of people were like, "This guy's audio freaking sucks." And so, of course, without fail, I have audio problems. Now, apparently all it was, I had to tell it to listen to my voice through these things instead, but...
Oh. Yeah.
Of course.
So, let's see. I'm just looking at the chat here. Okay. So Ron Bear says R.I.P. to Freeman. Are you into like the 3D printing gun community? Do you know people?
So one of my best friends in town, he really likes the 3D printed gun stuff, and he knows some of the gun. I mean, the fact that I went down the metal route probably says enough
Well,
about my thoughts.
that's why I asked, because you're CNCing, you're not 3D printing.
Yeah, I mean, I
So,
have nothing wrong with that whole hobby, but I don't know. I have multiple 3D printers. Let me start there. So I do 3D print stuff.
okay.
I use it mostly for rapid prototyping. So, for example, I'm designing, well, hopefully designing, an AR lower with an integrated magazine. So think like I need to go shoot 350 Legend straight wall cartridge in a state that limits the deer hunting to straight wall and number of rounds I can have in gun. Okay, integral magazine works. There's no way that they can say I had some like 30 round in my backpack or something.
Right.
Before I spend
so wait,
$30 on metal, I'm going to 3D print that.
You're complying with all of this? Is that what you're telling me?
So
here's, you know what it is? I'm married. I own my house. I got crap to lose. I'm not living in somebody's basement. And I know we make fun of that pun, but hey, look, you can save yourself a lot of money living in your mom's basement. But
so no, what I'm doing, I don't live in a state that gives any damn about that.
Right.
I wanted, so one of the things that I talk about in like my channel's mission statement is the ultimate goal is to get to the point of teaching 0%. And really the hardest thing to do for anyone at home, no matter if you've got a mill or not, is broaching magwells. Those really tight corners that are really deep. So I'm thinking of ways like, how can I get into the 0% world knowing my limitations?
So what one CNC company did, what is the guy? Alex P. Machine? I'm messing it up. I got a couple of his lowers.
Okay.
So he didn't broach it. So if you picture, you can drill each corner. So now you have like a corner that has kind of Mickey Mouse ears on it.
Yes.
And is so that's how he machined it.
So I forget what the technical terminology is there, but that's very common in the machining world when you need a sharp cornered object to fit into a hole. I want to call it dog ears, but I don't think that's right. But you can actually have those drilled holes being just along one of the axes, or you can have it like basically centered on that corner and just be kind of like on both axes. The problem that you get into there with maybe it's not a problem if someone's doing it, but I assumed the problem that you got into there with AR lowers is there's not a ton of meat on the edges of that magwell. So if you're putting circles in those corners,
I get
you've now drastically reduced the amount of meat that's there between the magwell and the outside of the frame. Whereas if I can get away from having a magazine need to fit, and all I have to fit is bullets and a follower of my own design, all of a sudden I don't have to deal with sharp corners.
Gotcha.
And so back to your comment of, are you trying to comply with Midwest hunting stuff? No, but if I'm going to do, for lack of a better term, a noob's intro to doing a lower that is not a single shot, I might as well make it thematically appropriate.
Gotcha.
So that was the whole idea behind this, and I've got parts for it already, so yeah, I'm already down that lane, so might as well just continue with it, even if it's slightly stupid.
I get it. That makes sense. And I don't take, we're seeing, I don't know if you know Freeman. Do you know who Freeman is?
I've seen a lot of talk about this guy on X the last couple of days.
So apparently, DOJ ATF has gone after Freeman and has him in custody, has an F ton of evidence, and
lightning links. There was a picture that went around. I don't know why they bothered showing in the picture like all of his lowers. It's like no one cares. But I did see the picture with the 2 lightning links, as if he was like, it was in a case with like a foam cutout, almost like he had them below something to try and hide them. I mean, if we're talking opinions on this subject, if you're going to be anyone even remotely prominent in the 2A community, why? You've already got eyes on you.
Yeah. And
why in the world would you ever push any of those limits? The eyes are already on you.
Yep.
So, as much as I would love to live in a world where this wasn't a problem, it is. He knows that.
Yeah, I'm like, apparently he lives in New York.
Even worse.
I live in Florida, but there's still effed up laws in Florida. I'm suing the state of Florida, and I'm suing the Port St. Lucie sheriff in conjunction with GOA and a couple of other litigants for open carry in Florida. And actually, Crump Dark and I are suing the ATF for the doing business as, that new FFL regulation.
Yep.
So we were anonymous litigants. We are now named litigants in the case, GOA case. And I think like FPC, I think a couple of other organizations are in on it. So, what I've always said to people is I'm squeaky clean. I don't want anybody kicking in my door in the middle of the night, endangering my family in any way, or myself, or my dog. That's why I have small dogs, because they're smaller. And it's part of my headset.
Harder targets.
Smaller
targets for the ATF. And we know from several videos that they're not great with guns anyways. Yeah. So if you don't give them an easy target.
Yeah. So, I just want to be as squeaky, as clean as possible. So, yeah, I'm actually printing Meshtastic cases and ish.
Yeah. You gave a perfect example of just how squeaky clean you have to be and want to be if you are any way, shape, or form publicly involved with this hobby.
And all of my auto steers are buried in the small dog park, the northeast corner of the pavilion, 6 feet out, 6 feet down. And believe it or not, that part of the park in Florida here has been closed for like a month. I don't know
why. But yeah, I'll have friends that know what I do in my free time, and they'll come in and they'll be like, "Oh, wouldn't it be great? Can I come over and have you spray my lower?" It's like, nope. Like, I'm not an FFL. I build for myself. I'm not even going to push any of these limits.
Oh, right.
Because I might wear a face cover on stuff like this, but there's no qualms in my mind that the government, if they don't already know who I am, if they wanted to, it'd be a joke.
Right. Right. So in January at SHOT Show, when Tim Hoffman Tactical, I don't know if you know who he is, walks up, they look at him, they're saying, "Oh, you're wearing shoes." It's like, so not only do they know who he is, they know that he, at home doesn't wear shoes and walks around. And I was at his house in August with Walter Keller, Safety Harbor Firearms, Walter Keller. And he had no shoes.
That's it. So we were talking earlier today. You mentioned a 50. So that's the 50 you have. Is the Safety Harbor.
So that's the Safety Harbor 50. That's a 29-inch barrel. And when Walt asked me, what barrel length do you want? I'm like, what do they come? And he's like, 29. This. I'm like, go big or go home.
Yep. So
it fits on an AR lower. That's his proprietary lower. Literally, this gun has 2 serial numbers.
Yep. So I'll give you. I already gave you like one insight into like where I'm going next year with the channel and like 0%. I'll give you the second insight. This is actually going to come before that 350 Legend deer gun. The first lower that I'll be doing rifle lower that I'll be doing 0% next year is going to be a single shot lower. We're going to mill it specifically out of 7075 aluminum. And I've got a Raptor 50 on my way. So we'll be,
cool.
yeah. So we will be, you'll be Safety Harbor, and I'll be Big Kahuna.
Right. Cool. Yeah, there's a couple of companies that do the 50 caliber. Basically, it goes on an AR lower.
Yep.
There, you got to swap out the hammer and pull whatever out of the trigger. Whatever sear or safety, whatever it is.
I mean, for the same reason as the Magwell broaching conversation earlier, like I wanted to, like, what's the easiest way I can get into rifle lower building from scratch? Single shot is obviously the easiest way to do that. I mean, yeah, I could probably go 10-22 route as well, but single shot for an AR was the easy way. And I was like, as much fun as that's going to be, how am I going to keep this build series spicy?
Oh, yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if I make a single shot Remington 223 AR, I will lose viewers, not gain.
Yeah. Well, unless you pimp accuracy, like, hey.
But I kind of already went down that route. Not single shot, but the accuracy AR route.
Your social media, you have a presence on YouTube, on Odyssey. Where else?
Well, right now my presence on YouTube is greatly diminished. I'm in strike jail. So I'm probably just so I don't risk the whole channel, because everything I post, I'm pretty sure won't break their rules. They beg to differ more and more frequently. Even though I know the rules like the back of my hand. I mean, we can go through some of the examples because they're ridiculous.
Yeah. You can color within the law. Like, according to their rules, I could not touch the Glock 17 clone in this box and hold it up and show it, and that would be okay.
Yeah.
But I don't want to risk that.
So my main spot is Odyssey right now until I can post again on my channel without worrying about getting more strikes. They've shown that they're willing to kind of reach into the past if I piss them off and tick stuff.
I was going to say, hence the reason DLD and I, it's opening the wrong way, started a knife company, because I can show knives.
Flip them around, do whatever you want.
It's like, ooh, beautiful carbon fiber. So yeah, Definition Knives, I dropped the link. I'll drop another link. But
nice.
Yeah, so this way YouTube can't. Dogs. All right. Dog, you gotta go.
But because of the whole YouTube thing right now, I've previously only really used X to follow channels and to argue with YouTube, because guarantee if you do an appeal on YouTube's platform, you will lose that appeal. Once in a blue moon, you can also reach out to them on X, and you might get a reasonable human being that understands the concept of nuance. I've had very mixed luck there, but mixed luck is better than no luck. So that's what I've previously used X for. As of last night, I'm now posting about my gun stuff there too. I have negative followers, if anything, on X.
Ooh,
but
let's see.
I need to find a way to at least let people know, like, hey, I'm not posting on YouTube. It's not because I'm being a lazy jerk and not releasing content. I just don't want to risk my YouTube channel, but I'm gonna keep using my other social media.
So let's see. Oh, it's funny. I typed not a, and there's not a gunner came up.
Oof. I have to get rid of that guy. So yeah, I mean, while you're doing that, I'll go into a little bit of one of my strikes right now. So I was previously partaking in a practice of, if I post something on Odyssey that I know 100% that YouTube won't allow, I was leaving like a 10-second video just saying like, hey, you guys should probably follow me on Odyssey. Because I'm not teaching anything in that video. And let's be clear, we've got tons of YouTubers that advertise for Sonoran Desert Institute.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That is, by definition, a
I didn't even
call
think about
out
that.
to go somewhere else to learn how to build guns. So what the hell is the difference if I'm doing that?
Yeah, Brandon Herrera, everybody's like, yeah, Sonoran Desert Institute, yep.
So I don't understand why they flagged that video. My only other thought is it was a static image of a lower on a mill. No milling happening, no education, but they don't tell you anything. And so you never really know why you twerked them. And so when I lost that appeal, it was like, great, now I got to go delete like all these other pointer videos or else risk them reaching into my past as well. And it may not have been the pointer that got me, but they'll never tell me that.
Right. I don't. Oh, dark. Ouch. Ouch.
that is what I'm here for. That is what I'm here for.
Ooh. So that's my buddy DLD Dark, the partner in the knife company. And so I can't. Can I pick it up? So I went and got the Bear Creek Arsenal from my FFL, and I brought over the 5 different knives we have. I said, hey man, go through them, pick one you want. It's your gift. And so he picked the DK1. So I'm out a DK1. I can't give another one. But actually, probably I should have more than one of each knife if I am the co-owner of the knife company.
I was gonna say, like, you should be flush in knives.
Well, Dark's handling the fulfillment, so he's
gotcha.
Killing it.
Yeah, I feel you on that. I recently did like a small 50 lot production run of a Magwell for this super boutique 80%. Oh, it's getting bigger now, but the Geisler frames.
Yeah, I watched the video. That was cool.
One, I learned that there's a heck of a difference between milling prototypes and milling even a small production run. But the other thing is, I'm with you here. The minute I was done with them, I outsourced all sales to a buddy of mine. It's like, do you deal with that? Because I hate other human beings on most occasions. So being in the sales part of things would absolutely just destroy any motivation of mine that I have. Like, I like teaching people stuff, fine. But the minute that you involve money, like, human beings turn into these just like horrible gremlins that I don't want interaction with.
Well, I'm going to ask you to hold 1 second. I just got a text I'm sending to Dark. And give me a second here, because I can't talk and text at the same time except to say that.
That's fair.
Yeah, so I don't know if YouTube is going after people. I don't want to name names, but I know another channel is having an issue of YouTube going over stuff that's like 3 years old and handing out strikes on 3-year-old videos. So I'm trying to think if it was 2 or 3 years ago at SHOT Show. It might have been 2 years ago because SHOT Show's in January. So the 2024 SHOT Show seems like a year ago to me, because we're talking about going to, everybody's making plans for the 2025 right now. So registration is open, all of that. Now, I deleted like this channel. So the channel that everybody's watching on right now, because we're only on the Flying Rich channel, we're not on John Crump Live. So this channel, I was getting N100 views a day. Even my old videos, I worked in Orlando, and on Friday I would do the Friday live drive. So I'd be 2 hours driving and just, talking into the camera, and people like that. But because YouTube changed the rules, so if I said whatever.com verbally, it was okay when I did it,
but not anymore.
Not anymore. So it used to be like the rules are so crazy, and to comply, I deleted like 300 videos off
Holy.
my channel. I'm like, God. So all of a sudden, these were things that people would go back and watch.
Yeah.
And I'm like, every live video I deleted off my channel because I might have said somecompany.com and I don't want to get a strike for that. Or
Yeah.
modifying a firearm by putting a standard capacity AR magazine into it was getting people strikes, and or screwing a can on the end of a barrel was modifying a firearm and violating the terms of service. And the thing here, I'm like, if I was showing you how to make a bong, grow pot, and did
Oh,
videos while I was smoking pot, which is federally illegal, it's not. Owning a firearm isn't illegal. Owning a suppressor isn't illegal. Owning a 30-round magazine isn't illegal.
but it's wrong thing. That's your problem.
It,
How dare you?
I'm like totally flummoxed on that. Look, I want to scribble within the lines. I want to do everything right. And frag out, whatever it is, should be on your front porch that I sent you. So it's amazing to me, and that's why. So now here's the conundrum, and I think you know this because you're on Odyssey. There's YouTube competitors out there like Rumble, like Odyssey, like fill in the blank. There was Gunstreamer.
I literally could never get GunStreamer to work at all, so I gave up on that one. Just FYI.
And there's a number of systems out there, and look, the short of it is that 99.99% of the world's videos are viewed on YouTube.
I mean, I came across Booligan Shooting Sports. He's the guy, I think, that designed that big Chungus Glock 17 frame. That's like a Glock 17, like triple L. I guess his channel's on YouTube again, but I was watching something of his on Odyssey, and he was having this exact conversation like with himself. He was like, I'm thinking about giving up. And mind you, this guy had like hundreds of thousands of followers. He's like, I'm thinking about giving up because I can't post on YouTube anymore. And I'm now over here on Odyssey, and I went from a world where I have hundreds of thousands of followers to I get 30 views on a video that I spent 30 hours working on.
Yes. And we were talking to a friend of mine in the gun space, and he's building a set me for me. I had FAMAS like set me. He's building and because he would have had it done, but he got discouraged because he was going to do a build series like he's done other build series, and he got discouraged. And he's like, I'm like, dude, you can't let them steal your spirit. You can't. I would, if it wasn't for, so I'm all over YouTube. I'm on Dark Show, I'm on Crump Show, I'm on my show, I'm on whoever's show that'll have me on, and I'll run my mouth. I would probably get a soapbox and stand on the corner and talk to people looking at me like I'm a crazy person if it wasn't for YouTube. But that's just what I've been doing. And I care and I don't care about my reach. I would love for this, and hence, I grabbed an empty shell. Hence the knife company. I'd love for the social media to pay for things, being that I only worked 4 months this year. That's kind of rough on the finances.
Especially if you like guns.
If you like guns or anything nice or eating. The eating part. And legit, I'm talking... My FFL, he's not a impoverished individual, and we're just talking about like going to McDonald's, and unless Donald Trump's handing out free Happy Meals, it's pretty damn expensive just to go to McDonald's.
So, me and my wife earlier, you were like, I'm married. I don't wear the ring because for the first while I did, and it just got destroyed in the shop. But I'm also married, so I have the wife thing going on as well. And we were talking about exactly this. It's like we live far enough outside cities that we've really got to want to go eat somewhere. There's nothing out here. We're in the middle of nowhere. So we're at least like a 35, 45-minute drive if we want to find a decent restaurant, not like a gas station that serves a burger. And and that is already, you're paying the gas price to get to that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So you better really want it. And then now you get there, and me and my wife can't go out and have a meal for under $60 for the two of us.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And it's just like, when you factor in, what's the IRS's mileage now? It's like 60 some odd cents per mile. Like, that's $100 meal by the time we drive out there.
And that was the joke in aviation. So, you get a pilot's license, you buy an airplane, and you go for the $100 hamburger. It's really $200 or $300. I'm sorry. Oh, hold on. Let's get it right. I'm not as cool as Dark when I do this, but so the joke was the $100 hamburger when you're flying, and realistically, I do filet mignon math. If I can buy a loin of filet mignon at Costco for $130, depending on size and weight, but I can get 10 pieces of filet mignon out of $130 piece of filet mignon. So that's $13 a serving of like the best meal. I mean, I taught myself how to cook filet mignon and do a red wine reduction sauce. But if I'm going legit, there's a burger place we like in town, and I'll name it. It's Lynn Burgers. But with my wife and my daughter and myself, I might get a bacon cheeseburger. We're drinking sodas or water, no beers, no mixed drinks or anything like that. It's nearly $100. And it's not a glam burger. It's a burger.
So I was talking to someone about, like, when I was a kid, my parents did pretty decently. And I remember some of like the vacations that we went on. They were really nice, like, picture your like tropical paradise vacation, beach and stuff. So not only was I getting to go on those as a child,
right,
and my parents were paying for it, but like I now, as an adult, have a good job. My wife has a good job. We have no part of me feels like I can afford the vacations that I had as a child.
Yes, yeah.
Which is nuts to me. Like, don't get me wrong. We'll go down to like Mexico or something, and we'll stay in a nicer resort. But it's still one of those like everything's included, the food quality's good enough kind of places. It's not some fancy cater to you thing. And even that now is starting to feel like, okay, that hurts a little bit.
Yeah, and again, so we went to Iraq Veteran, which you didn't go this year. You probably should go next year. Are you?
I don't know how y'all get invited to all this stuff.
We'll make sure you get invited.
I live like an hour from Brandon Herrera, Demolition Ranch. Like, I don't get invited to shit.
Well, I don't know those guys. And I know people that know Brandon Herrera, and Brandon will be like, hey man, somebody meets up with Brandon and he shows them their phone. All right, I said that wrong. He shows people his phone and the 15,000 messages he did not return.
Yeah.
So you might know him or whatever, but if he's not calling you,
oh yeah.
So
I mean, once you get to the point where you're not only at that level of YouTuber, but you're running and almost unseating a sitting congressman.
Oh yeah, right.
Anyone that has his number in the GunTube world that's not also his best friends, he does not have time to answer those.
Yeah.
Like, it's neither here nor there.
Yeah, I mean, I know. So there used to be the roast for 3D printing, and Ralph went shooting. P80 Ralph went shooting with Brandon, and Brandon came on one of the roasts, and it was a lot of fun. He's like, "Oh my gosh, I had a great time. I want to do this again." And you know, it's tough. I mean, and Crump and I, so Crump Dark and I do a show. It's not dead. It's just, we're trying to just gather ourselves to be able to do it again. We do what we call the uncensored podcast on Rumble, and getting the three of us together to do it. We either do it on a Monday night or a Wednesday night at 10 o'clock. It's a tough haul.
Yeah.
We do. Crump and I, our full schedule would be Monday to Thursday, 4 days a week, and then doing that show. And I usually do. Dark does 3 shows a week, so I'll usually jump on one of those. That's a full schedule, and actually, my day gig, which I haven't done, I do cloud engineering, but it seems like the market's warming up because I see more hits. Not great hits in my email, but it looks like things are warming up in the business. So the last long-term gig I had was with a global pharmaceutical company, and when it came to renewing my contract, they're like, "All honesty, we get 5 guys in India for what we pay you."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Fudge!"
And I think I told you this. Like, I work in IT as well. One of the guys that I hired over a year ago now, when we finally brought him on, he was like, "Thank you, thank you, thank you." And he's like, "I don't know why you're thanking me. You were the best candidate that we interviewed." And he's like, "That may be the case, but I sent out 1,000 resumes before I got this job. 1,000. And he was the best candidate that we interviewed."
So here's what happens. I did a programming language called Fusion, and I worked at Cornell Medical Center. I worked at the Mayo Clinic. I did Cold Fusion at a very high level, and I had somebody, again, offshore call. "Hey, we got a job for Cold Fusion." I'm like, "Yeah, here's my Cold Fusion resume." Like, "You haven't done Cold Fusion in a while." I'm like, "I beta tested the last couple of versions of Cold Fusion for Adobe. You will not find a better Cold Fusion Pro." And typically what happens in this situation, what I found, when it's more prevalent when I get an offshore call center. So what that's indicating to me is they're going for the lowest dollar amount when they're doing that. Having no disrespect for somebody offshore, but what's going on is they're also going to look for the guy that works for the least amount of money. So they're going to get an hourly rate on a contract, and they're going to try to keep as much money as they possibly can. So if they get $100 an hour, they're going to want to keep 50 of it, and they're going to want to give somebody $50 an hour to do a job or less.
Yep, absolutely.
And that's how. And so when I get a call from somebody in the US for a job, I'm like, "God bless you. I'm paying full attention. What's going on? What do you need?" When I get, the call rings, I pick up, "Hello, hello, hello," and then it connects to the call center. "Hello," it's somebody offshore. I don't want to do the voice and be disrespectful, but somebody offshore that doesn't speak great American English. I'm like, "Oh, Jesus." This is so, and the problem is, and legitimately, I was interviewing for a job that so somebody I knew from my daughter's high school, their kid was in school with my daughter. He was working there.
Okay.
I would see ads for that job for years that they would hire somebody with my skill set. Only in the last couple of months did I get an interview there. I'm like, I don't know what the heck's going on, but it was never working with the HR department. It was always a third party, and trying to get through. I'm like,
so I got into IT very serendipitously. Like, none of my education is in the IT field, even remotely. And I've often talked to folks, younger folks, like coming out of college and whatnot, and it's like there's two main pieces of advice that I would give. It's like one of them is don't assume that you're going to work in the field that you studied unless it's something that like requires licensure, like doctors, certain engineering things. It's like just because you worked in, let's put something generic out there, business for your undergrad, your master's and whatnot, you might become a completely different thing. And the second thing is, even from when I graduated until now, and I'm pushing 40, so I'm pretty far out, but I see the same thing happening nowadays. Is you're almost not going to get a job via the old like knock the door, hand your resume route.
Oh. Yeah.
Like if I hadn't had friends that do a similar hobby that go, the way you think about this hobby could translate to the job that I do, let me get you a foot in the door.
Yes.
I wouldn't work in the field that I work in.
Oh yeah. So legit, I've actually thought about throwing a suit and tie on, getting some cards, just business cards printed, simple business cards, and a sign that says, I'll do cloud engineering, and
cloud engineer for food.
Yeah, something. Yeah, and stand at like the corner of Military Trail and Palm Beach Gardens, just to see if I can get the attention of somebody local. And we do have a celebrity in the chat. We have Mama Hoffman, so Tim Hoffman's mom. So she's keeping a tab on me, making sure I don't say anything wrong.
Well, continue our poverty conversation.
Dude, all right, so here's the whole thing. What's amazing to me is my dad never made more than 40 grand a year, and through reasonable investing and saving, and he never had he had like one or two new cars in his life, which I'll never do again. I've done the new car. I have zero interest in it. We now have two Lexus or Lexi, if that's the plural, and I bought them 2-3 years old, and they've lost half their value. So I'm driving a car that'll go for another couple 100,000 miles at half the initial sticker price. I'm okay with that.
Well, what I was going to get at was, did you see, I think it was Winchester that put out a notice day or two ago that's basically like expected minimum 5 to 10% increase across the board for ammunition.
Oh yeah.
Like, holy like if we're not beaten down enough already.
Yeah, and so Mama Hoffman and 40K a year when we were kids was good money.
Oh yeah,
and yeah, it was. And don't get me wrong, my dad was frugal. We didn't do. I never went to Disney or anything like that. We didn't do any exotic vacations. He did send like each of us to Germany because my mother was fresh off the boat from Germany, so most of us went at least once to Germany.
Well, but you also got to think it's not necessarily the amount of money that matters; it's the system within which you spend and earn that money. If you look back at earning potentials back in, let's just say the 50s, it's like even with inflation, those numbers can seem small. But someone was buying a house right out of college with that money, with their first job.
Oh yeah.
Their wife could stay at home if they wanted to and raise the kids. That wasn't a huge financial burden. I mean, obviously, I'm generalizing here, and I also didn't live in that time, obviously. But there's something about the system which we live in today which makes your money just, no matter how much of it you have, it's not going to go nearly as far.
And I'm, last week I did my own oil change on my car. I put in bowl joints and drop links, and, I'm buying the parts on Amazon for as cheap as possible. And I'm doing all the frickin', I'm not employed. So no reason. I've got the skills. I've got the tools. I'll do the damn job myself. But
which is funny. And it's like, we have these conversations and it's like, and then I'm going to go build my own gun, which is going to end up costing more than if I just freaking bought it.
Yeah, the $1,000 worth of parts.
Oh yeah. Like I remember I was talking to someone about what it would take to get into broaching, to be able to not like the easy broaching like an AR Magnum. I'm talking like 4140 steel broaching to do
Oh
lug
shoot.
raceways in a bolt action receiver. I was like,
Hmm.
what is it going to take to get into that? We started talking about it. It ended up being just like thousands of dollars in just broaching equipment alone.
Hmm.
Mind
Hmm.
you, you also have to have a better lathe than I have. It's like, and he's like, but at the end of the day, why would you even want to do this? Like, you can go buy a decent action for a couple $100. It's probably going to be
Right.
nicer than the one that you build your first 100. And I go, because I have a fetish for spending more money to build something than if I just freaking bought it myself.
That's like what I was Bitcoin mining, and if I took the money that I to build the Bitcoin miners, I would have been better off just buying Bitcoin for $9, $10. And but yeah, I like the hands-on. I'll learn something. I in legit, it's like I thought I knew how a Steyr AUG worked,
Mm-hmm.
and then I did the Nilog project, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I really fully understand how a Steyr AUG works. This is really interesting.
All
And when you build something, when you do the machining on something, you understand why they're built that way. And so we're talking, we're listening, and we're commenting on the Supreme Court hearing the frame and receivers.
mm-hmm.
And the ATF's argument is only criminals build, polymer 80s. Or I'm like,
I've never been arrested for anything in my entire life,
I can't
but I
claim that.
love building guns.
Now, I've done enough stupid stuff for
Oh,
a
I've done
whole
stupid stuff.
community.
I've never been arrested.
Yeah, I've done a community's worth of stupid stuff in my younger years. So, but yeah, I mean, I have a carry permit. I have a number of legally obtained firearms. Not that any of them were not legally obtained, but I'm saying I did the 4473,
Yeah,
the paperwork.
we know
But
what you mean.
I want to build firearms and learn how they work, and I like learning things and understanding new things, and a challenge. And I think part of that, and you might associate with this really well, because if you're doing cloud engineering, computer geeky stuff, I can't explain that to most people. But if I show them, like, hey, I just built this, let's go shoot it, people understand that.
Oh, I mean, there's a distinct reason that every single one of my hobbies over the decades have been making something with my hands. It
Yeah.
hasn't always been guns. That's more recent. But if I sit behind a desk all day and the output of my work is very non-tangible,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
there is an unfathomable amount of joy that comes from getting up from that desk, going out to my shop, and at the end of that day, I have something in my hands that's like, I made this.
Yep. Yep.
Um, which actually, there's a topic I want to go into because we were talking about it offline for a while, and I want to give it more air. Tormox.
Okay.
So I posted recently, a couple weeks ago. I've had a video on how to finish off like meticulously, like the right way, how to use those 5D tactical router jigs to finish up an 80% lower.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But in one of my new series, I'm doing another AR. It's like, okay, well, how can I expand upon this knowledge? It's like, well, I'm going to show now how I do it on a Tormach instead. So it's like now you got two routes. And when I posted that on a Reddit sub, be like, hey, just FYI, this is out there if anyone wants to learn it. There were a lot of people that were very appreciative. And then there was another group of people that the general sentiment was, oh, great, I'll keep this in mind for the next time I find a CNC mill at the Goodwill. And it's like, I get that you think this is not approachable, but let me be very clear. I paid $4,000 for my Tormach. For the average guy that builds two nicely outfitted ARs, you could have also bought that Tormach. You chose not to. You chose the 2 rifles over the tool that's going to help you build innumerable things for yourself and customize the hell out of them. So one of the things that I always kind of want to get out there is, if it is important to you, it is approachable. It is feasible.
And that's so. I'm gonna name some names. So a friend of mine, Walter Keller, who builds the Safety Harbor 50. He builds the compact entry stock that goes on your MP5, goes on a bunch of different products. And so Walter has, a bunch of machines that cost the price of a house, in a modest neighborhood, that are cranking out, n number of parts an hour in their rapid prototyping. So I'm talking with Babyface P, Patrick, who he's now an FFL SOT working out of his garage. He's got I don't think it's a Bridgeport. He's got some mill. He's got some lathe.
Knee-style mill.
And like
Manual
you were
mill.
saying, in New York, on Long Island specifically, when everybody went CNC, if you could move a Bridgeport off a loading dock, you could own it.
Yeah.
That was the barrier to entry. And I know
it's all the free grand pianos and all the free pool tables you can get. Same thing with mills.
Right. And so, yeah, we've been having the conversation. So Patrick and I were talking. It's like, oh man, I would love to be able to get into Walter's shop at night, third shift or whatever, and run. And I'll steal an item from you, like run a magazine well. Like you could, he's got all of the equipment. We could buy stock and, hijack his shop from, midnight to 8 a.m.
The scary thing for anyone that has these expensive tools, and I do it to myself, mind you, you can very quickly make big mistakes.
Oh yeah.
I have literally slammed bits down through stainless steel, and luckily I hit the E-stop fast enough that I'm not doing damage to my machine. I'm not doing major damage to my machine, but you can do damage to these machines, absolutely. So if you really crash them hard.
The funniest thing was that Patrick and I were talking. He's like, well, you know what you need to do is you need to get a Tormach. And this is before I even met you. And I'm like, what's a Tormach? And he explained, he's like, yeah, they're like $30,000, blah, blah, blah. And then you come along and say, hey, I found one on Facebook Marketplace for $4,000 with all the tools. So
I'm going to start doing a series. I need to find time to do it, but I still regularly look at my queries that I have out in the ether for Tormachs, because I looked for about a year before I found that deal. So I still, every now and then, just for fun, I look at those queries that I've got, and there are still great deals out there. If you are watching this and you live near New York City, there is currently a fantastic deal on eBay for a Tormach 1100.
Really?
If you live, I think it's like 6,500, but it's been up there for 3 months. You could probably get it for better, or negotiate some free tooling along with it. An 1100 Series 3 for 6,500 is already a damn good deal. I'm a 770 at 4K,
so I just typed it
for a bigger size.
I don't know what they cost, but it says sponsored link $1,100 for a Tormach.
Not that one.
I'm sorry, 11,000. I'm sorry, I did that wrong.
But
11,000.
This is kind of why I want to do just maybe I'll just do it as shorts on my channel or something. But it's hey, I saw this Tormach and I would buy that at that price. So just to reinforce that idea that these are out there, they are approachable. There's another one I recently saw. I think it's still on eBay, or it might have been Facebook Marketplace, up in Michigan. There was another fantastic deal on an 1100 up in Michigan. Now, the 1100s are going to be a little bit more of a bear to deal with, unless you're kind of used to this stuff, simply because they are going to take 220 voltage. The 770 is the last one size-wise that you can get that still does 110. Now, I could probably do a 5-minute video on my channel that shows you how to turn 110 into 220 like that. It's not a difficult skill either. But I understand how if you've never dealt with heavy machinery that requires 220, you don't have
You
220,
unplug your
or
dryer and then you plug in the Tormach, right?
there you go. But again, this stuff, the next two rifles that you're planning with $1,000 plus Night Force scope on it, don't build that rifle and instead get a Tormach. Like,
Right,
that's my
right.
message. You don't
It,
need 14 ARs, but you do need a Tormach, I promise. And Tormach doesn't give you shit. I am not sponsored by Tormach.
Now, I'm gonna guess you paid $4,000 for the Tormach, and
Yeah.
it sounds like you probably got $4,000 worth of tools for the Tormach.
I was very lucky. And this is a strategy that I highly recommend to anyone looking for tooling. If someone's ad says, I need this gone, and you have the freedom to kind of play it by ear when they want you to show up.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Like there's a lathe that I would love that's about 200 miles away. I could take PTO and go get that one day, and they're saying I need this out. I'm moving soon, so I don't go and offer them what they're asking.
Right.
I'll say, look, I don't need this. Like, if you sell it, fantastic. But if it gets to the point that you're moving tomorrow and you give me 24 hours notice, here's the deal I'll give you.
Right.
And if it doesn't sell, you are now their best option. Now, you better come through. You better have access to a trailer real damn quick, an engine hoist, and a pallet jack. But you can get a pallet jack on Craigslist on the way for $150.
Oh, sorry. I clicked on that too quick. So Vanessa Kitty's like, I'm 121 miles away from First Avenue, 103rd Street, New York City.
Is that where that Tormach's at? The $6,500 one?
I don't know.
But, I mean, there are fantastic deals out there. And so to get responses from people as you're handing them free information that go sarcastically, I'll wait until the Red Cross or whatever, the Goodwill has one. It's like, dude, there are Goodwill price Tormachs out there.
Right. Well, I'm like, how much is a Ghost Gunner 3? I'm like, right. So there's the 3S.
I think they're like $3K.
So legit, and don't get me wrong, I'm not crapping on Cody Wilson or the Ghost Gunner or anything. Quite the opposite. But
I might start.
Well, I know Cody, so I don't want to be.
I'm not going to crap on Cody for anything Cody personality related. And in all honesty, this isn't a crap on. If you don't have a garage and you live in an apartment and you want to be able to work on firearms, the Ghost Gunner is probably a fantastic thing for you to mess with. But if you live in a house and you have a garage, there is no reason to buy a Ghost Gunner. That, to me, now that I've played with CNCs for years, but now that I've played with metal mill CNCs, which are a whole different beast from like the little desktop wood things, I have a hard time believing that the work that comes out of those things is fast and super clean. But here's the real thing. It is a paint by numbers take on CNC.
Yeah. Yes.
You are so incredibly limited. Now, they keep expanding what you can do with it. And I'm sure there's a way to hijack it, design your own stuff in Fusion 360, and cut it out. But the envelope, and when I say envelope, I mean X, Y, and Z axis travel, that you have available to you on that thing is minuscule. And when I first got my CNC, I thought 770, Tormach 770, way big enough for me. When am I going to build something that's bigger than 14 inches by 7.5 inches by like, I think I get a 14 in the Z as well. And the answer is I'm not, but vices take up space. Jigs take up space. You want to mill more than one of those things at the same time? That takes up space. And I promise, unless you've got an automatic tool changer, you 100% do want to mill more than one of those things at a time.
Yeah.
Like I was milling those Geisler Magwells one at a time, and the top took 2 bits. Sorry, the top took 3 bits, and the bottom took 2 bits. And total mill time for one of those magwells was about 35 minutes. So every 35 minutes, I was doing 5 bit changes.
Oh, shoot.
So having a CNC there, people would be like, oh, how handy. It's like it cuts it itself. It's like, no, I was standing there watching something run for 5 minutes, doing a bit change, watching it run for 5 minutes, until I finally went, screw this, and I made some other ways to hold multiple things at the same time. So again, that extra envelope all of a sudden became extremely important to me once I got even a foot out of the one-off prototype realm.
Mm-hmm.
So again, going back to the Ghost Gunner, I can't imagine that has more than a couple inches in each direction.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
No wonder it's limited to the things that they tell you you can build on it, because that's what the envelope will afford.
All right, so somebody in the chat said, take a look at the Ghost Gunner Flex. Now, I know the Ghost Gunner is fully open source. Oh, okay. So somebody's building it out of like what is it called? The 4140 or 40, whatever the struts, the extruded aluminum.
Oh, 40, I know what you're talking about. The enclosure of my Tormach is made out of that crap.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, I built it myself, but yeah. They've got different sizes of it. It takes like T-nuts and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So, but I'm looking at the project. So, as an IT guy, if I'm on GitHub and looking at a project, and the most recent update was 4 years ago, yeah.
I would also tell you that if you're working on a CNC metal mill, even if all you plan to mill is other aluminum,
mm-hmm.
and the structural components of your mill are aluminum,
yeah,
holy vibration and poor surface quality.
Yeah.
Like, that's a game I wouldn't want to play. Like, there's a reason these things are thousands of pounds. And the guy that I bought mine off of, he actually had like another 1,000 pounds worth of concrete and steel shot in the base that he kept.
Oh, wow.
Because any amount of vibration that you can get out of the system helps all day. There we go. Perfect. Like, these things are heavy for a reason. And so the minute I hear aluminum extrusion as your structural supports for a CNC mill, I go, there's a reason they use that on 3D printers.
That's the thing that I'm amazed at. So this is going to sound crazy, and I'm going to have to wrap soon because I got to go. But the Ender 3 is more rigid than a bamboo. But the bamboo, the bamboo, when it prints, it's doing that because it's stamped steel. But it has the accelerometer built into the print head, so it knows how far it's doing this.
Oh my God, that is the most Chinese answer I've ever heard in my life. Instead of making a sturdier, more rigid product, let's solve it with more computing power. Don't get me wrong, I don't mean that as like a derogatory thing. It's like there's obviously 2 ways to skin a cat here, and that's genius. But it's just so telling that it's like, hey, let's not increase the quality of our physical product. Let's solve the shittiness of the physical product with more technology.
Oh, okay. All right. I was going to tell one last story, but it looks like the company finally ate all of its investors' money.
Oh.
So there was this flying car called Terrafugia. And the CEO, I met him at a fly-in, and this was it Connecticut or something? Anyhow, Massachusetts, Connecticut, I'm not sure where. So, hey, Walt, we were talking crap about you. So Walter Keller, Safety Harbor Firearms is in here.
I'm getting a big kahuna soon. I apologize.
So the guy, I think his name is Dieter or something like that. So what makes a car and what makes an airplane, or a boat, are vastly different qualities. And what makes a good car is like if you're doing Venn diagrams like Kamala Harris, they don't even intersect with what makes a good airplane a good airplane.
Yeah.
So Dieter, being like an MIT mathematician or, in business graduate, thought that there was a calculus problem he could solve to make the flying car a better flying car. And physics don't F that way. That's not how it works. So I had some inside information on the quality of their first prototype, and there was a reason it didn't do any cross countries or leave within 1,000 feet of the runway, because it sucked.
It was
And then they did
the flying car world.
And then they did a money grab for an eVTOL flying car. And all I can tell you is what makes a car and what makes a VTOL and what makes an eVTOL are, again, completely non-intersecting Venn diagrams. But what it does do is it might take people's money.
Yeah.
And there's basically a placeholder on the Terrafugia website. So, yeah, I think they succeeded in their goal. But anyhow, do I call you Nada? I'm not sure how do I identify you.
Noda.
Noda?
When I refer to myself on videos, I just say Noda.
So
Noda, I don't know.
Why don't you pimp your socials so people know how to find you?
Sure. I am, for those that weren't here at the beginning, I am currently in slight YouTube strike prison. So follow me on Odyssey. All the good stuff happens there. Because of that, I'm also going to start putting my stuff on X. That's literally the only places to find me.
Alrighty, cool. I'm going to drop a link for Terrafugia on here, and boom, I'm going to end the stream. Thanks for coming.
Pleasure as always.